The story that has persistently been around Oilers news so far this summer has maybe, just maybe, taken a step towards a conclusion. I'll have an update on that and more, but first, we still have under 15% of our audience subscribed to this channel. If you like this video, if you like some previous videos, or if you like everything, hit subscribe. It does help us out a lot. So here's where we stand. The Oilers and Draisaitl have officially started discussions on a contract extension that was confirmed. General Manager Stan Bowman confirmed this while speaking at the Gretzky-Hlinka Cup, saying that he's had a good conversation with Draisaitl's agent, Mike Lutt. Bowman said, quote, "I had a good conversation with him and we're starting things off and the timing on that will be what it will be." What does that mean? I don't really know. Neither does Bowman, apparently, because he said, "I don't have an update on where it's going to be or the timing on that, but there's nothing negative to report, certainly." So like I said, he doesn't want to give a time on this, which makes sense because if, Stan Bowman were to hypothetically say, "Oh yeah, we're talking, by the end of next week, we'll have something done," and then for whatever reason, there's not something done by the end of next week, that's a big deal. That's a story in itself that Bowman's timeline wasn't stuck to. So it makes sense for Bowman to not put a time on it. But the fact that talks have begun is a big deal. If you're not aware of the situation, the 28-year-old Draisaitl is entering the final season of that 8-year, $68 million extension he signed back in 2017, and let's be honest, that contract has been an absolute steal for the Oilers. Over the last 6 seasons, Draisaitl's racked up 643 points in 450 games. He's won a Hart Trophy. He's been in the MVP every MVP conversation every year since he's won that Hart Trophy back in 2020. So he's due for a massive raise, and Bowman has made it clear that he wants to make Draisaitl, quote, "an Oiler for life," which is exactly what fans want to hear. Same goes, of course, for Connor McDavid, who has 2 years left on his deal and could sign a new one as early as July 2025. Bowman knows that keeping these superstars is crucial for the team's future success. Draisaitl, obviously, he's been instrumental to the Oilers for so long now. He was instrumental in that Stanley Cup run. He put up 31 points in 25 games, and contract speculation has gone on. And while Bowman's comments kind of allude to the term being the maximum of 8 years, the money is the question mark. So with Draisaitl approaching unrestricted free agency for the first time in his career in this next upcoming summer, the Oilers are going to need to put a significant offer on the table to keep him from testing the open market. All summer we've talked about, is he going to take a hometown discount? Are we going to see that core three of McDavid, Bouchard, and Draisaitl all take discounts to push for a Stanley Cup? But given his track record and the prospect of continuing to play alongside McDavid, there's every reason for Draisaitl to stay. But you can hope for a hometown discount. Chances are Draisaitl isn't going to come cheap. Looking at the league trends, Draisaitl's next contract could set a new standard realistically. Remember when Stan Bowman was with the Chicago Blackhawks, he signed Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane to matching contracts. They were $10.5 million each, but they were worth 14.7 of the salary cap ceiling the season they were signed. So you fast forward to now, and those percentages are for top players like Nathan MacKinnon and Austin Matthews' deal. So what does that mean for Draisaitl? Well, if we project a $92 million salary cap season for 25-26, which is what it's reported to be, that's when Draisaitl's new contract would kick in, 15% of that number would be just shy of $14 million a season, and the number itself actually is $13.8 million a year. So that would make Draisaitl the highest paid player in the league, at least for that season. Connor McDavid's next contract, if Draisaitl ends up at 13.8, will likely be higher than that. It's clear Draisaitl's next contract is going to be a game changer, not just for him, but for the Oilers. And quite frankly, if Draisaitl sets, the league mark and then McDavid passes it, it's just more salary inflation for the NHL players, which overall is a good thing. It's better that these players get paid more. The NHL is the only North American sport with a hard salary cap, and that keeps player salaries down more than it does anything else. But let's not get into that right now. The Oilers have built a team that's ready to compete for the Stanley Cup, and keeping Draisaitl in Edmonton will be key to making that happen. Earlier this week, on Tuesday to be exact, I threw out a prospect update, and you can find it through the link up here or in the right corner of the screen right now. I talked about probably the top 5 Oilers prospects in terms of talent and potential on Tuesday, those being Matthew Savoie, Emil Vinny, Bo Akey, Sam O'Reilly, and Roby Järventie. I wanted to bring today a part 2 because obviously while I was researching that, there was 4 other players that I researched and I wanted to talk about. I wanted to bring a part 2 because these next group of guys aren't as high caliber, I'd say, but all could make an impact on the pro club in some way this season. Starting off, we'll look at 22-year-old netminder Connor Unger, who was born in Calgary, and he spent his entire junior career in the Canadian Prairies until he went off to U Sports. So over the years, Unger's played for several teams across the WHL and the AJHL. He didn't make enough of an impression out of junior to earn a pro deal, but Unger has excelled going in a different direction. He spent the past season, like I said, in university sports. He played 26 games for Brock University over in St. Catharines, Ontario, where he made quite an impression. Unger started all but 2 games for the Badgers in his rookie season, and he finished with a 26-0 record. He had impressive performance after impressive performance, ended up finishing the year with a 2.15 goals against and a .932 save percentage. All the numbers are good, but his continued improvement and solid performances suggest a bright future ahead for him, especially when you take into account that the Jack Campbell buyout means there's a logical spot for Unger as Edmonton's 4th goalie. He'll more likely than not be the backup in Bakersfield this coming season. Unger's journey through various leagues makes him an interesting prospect, because obviously this is a late bloomer type player, but you see late bloomer goaltenders end up at a really high level, more so than late bloomer skaters more often than not. Like I said, he's probably going to be the backup in Bakersfield next season, and Bakersfield's starter next season is the guy I'm going to talk about next. 23-year-old Olivier Rodrigues's journey has been one of, to sum it up, I'd probably say perseverance and development, and Rodrigues managed to learn a lot along the way. He was drafted by the Oilers in the 2nd round back in 2018. He was picked 62nd overall, and the Quebec native has shown since then that he's got the chops to compete at the pro level. He's been a little bit all over the place. He made his professional debut in the 2021 season, and it's safe to say that it's been a roller coaster. He's been everywhere. He's been in the AHL, he's been in the ECHL, even had a brief stint in Austria thanks to COVID. And let's not forget that he sat on the taxi squad for the Oilers during the pandemic season. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but in Vancouver, there was 2 goaltending prospects. It was Thatcher Demko and it was Michael DiPietro. Demko was older. He was ahead in his development. DiPietro ended up sitting on the taxi squad, and it halted his development, just stopped it right there. In the 2019 World Juniors, DiPietro looked like he might just be a stud, an elite goaltending prospect, and then he sat on the taxi squad and all that momentum was gone like that. So Rodrigues sitting on the taxi squad in Edmonton and then still managing to settle in the season after 2021, 21-22 and get back on track was always going to be difficult. But last season, 22-23, was so good for him. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was amazing. Rodrigues finally got the chance to settle into one league in the AHL, and he stayed with one team in Bakersfield. And I think that's what put his career on the right track. He played 37 games with Bakersfield last season. He went 19-12-5, and he had a really, really good .916 save percentage. This guy's trajectory took a sharp turn in the right direction last season, and you have to hope he can continue to improve and develop. And if he can, he could very seriously be an NHL goaltender one day, maybe even when this Calvin Pickard contract expires. I would not be surprised at all if he's the next backup for Stuart Skinner. So 2 goaltenders aside, the next guy on my list is somebody who I was once upon a time very high on, then a little bit less so, but at this point I think 23-year-old Raphael Lavoie could easily be a bottom 6 utility option, and I think he could have a future as an Oiler in some capacity. He was Edmonton's 38th overall pick in 2019 and won a World Junior Gold with Canada in 2020 before Lavoie, like everybody else in that draft class and the draft classes immediately before, during, and after COVID, had some factors outside of hockey affect his career. COVID meant that he couldn't play 2021 in North America, but he was really good in the Allsvenskan before he did have a solid finish to the year in the AHL once play resumed. The 6'4" winger spent the majority of last season in Bakersfield. He had 28 goals and 50 points through 66 games. All of those are career highs, including his 22 assists, and he got his 7-game NHL cameo, which he looked okay. The reassuring part about Lavoie comes when you look at his stats right here. Since he started in Major Junior back in 2016-17 in Halifax, he's steadily improved production every season. Trajectories are important when you're assessing prospects, and this is a big season when it comes to Lavoie's trajectory and his development. If he continues to improve, I think 2024-25 will be his last season in the AHL, and he's got to earn an NHL spot after that. But if the trajectory continues, he takes another step in the right direction, I have faith he will, and I have faith this guy is going to be a full-time Edmonton Oiler one day. Last guy I'll talk about today is Matvei Petrov, somebody who is farther back in his development by quite a bit than somebody, say, a Lavoie, but somebody whose skill set could mean his ceiling is even higher than, you might think when you see 6th-round draft pick. Petrov really caught attention during his time with North Bay in the OHL. He had 2 stellar seasons in that league. He was lighting up the scoreboard, and a lot of us were curious to see how he would transition to the pro game, and unfortunately, his first year with Bakersfield didn't go great. He had 9 goals and 14 points in 53 games, which isn't really what you'd expect from somebody who is a high-end junior producer, especially when you consider how good he really was in the OHL. But I'm not going to get too down on Petrov just yet. He spent most of his time in the bottom 6 last season in Bakersfield. He didn't get much time on the power play, so he wasn't in a position to succeed, at least on the scoreboard. And it was definitely a shift for him, going from being the best player in the OHL at times to playing a limited role in a very strong AHL, an AHL that's hard to score in. But this is part of the development process, and I can see if he takes a solid step forward next season, and if he's given more responsibility and opportunities, you're going to start seeing a lot of promising stuff out of this guy. So what makes Petrov such an intriguing prospect is those elite puck skills that made him a standout in junior hockey. His wrist shot is really, really good. It's one of those that a goaltender sees it and they're scared, because what really stands out is his ability to just move the puck anywhere. When he's on his game, he is so good offensively. He's capable of scoring or capable of putting the puck on a plate for one of his teammates to score. If he can build on this past season, we might see this guy start to really put it together in Bakersfield and hopefully push for an NHL spot. I don't think we're going to see this guy in an Oilers jersey this year or next year, but if he keeps working his way up in Bakersfield, perhaps we see it one day. That's it for the video today. Subscribe to the channel if you're a big Oilers fan, or if you just like these videos in general. Have a good day.